I clutch my water glass more tightly, my knuckles paling as Marissa's words linger in the space between us. "Next week, I'll be moving into your place," she says with an easy smile, as if she's merely switching to oat milk or starting yoga, just until I sort things out. Beside me, the champagne bottle pops open, my father grinning as he pours the sparkling liquid into crystal flutes I've never seen before. My mother's fine china, reserved for Thanksgiving and Christmas, shimmers under the chandelier's glow. The table's setup should have tipped me off something was brewing. Marissa at the head of the table. The formal place settings. The champagne chilling in its bucket. This isn't just Sunday dinner, it's a setup. I've already begun packing. Marissa goes on, accepting a flute from Dad with a graceful nod. It'll probably take just a day to move everything in. Across the table, my parents share satisfied glances, nodding as if this plan is the most sensible thing imaginable, as if my agreement is a mere formality already assumed. "To new beginnings," my father declares, lifting his glass. Everyone raises theirs in unison. Everyone except me. The boxes in the garage suddenly make sense. 3 days ago, I noticed them stacked against the wall. Large plastic tubs labeled Marissa's winter clothes and Marissa's books. When I texted her about them, she dismissed it casually. "Just temporary storage," she said, "until I find more room in my apartment." I should have seen it coming. Just like I should have realized what it meant when I confronted my parents about covering Marissa's rent for the 3rd time this year. "She's hit a rough patch," Mom said, brushing off my concerns. "That's what family does. We help one another." I recall my mother's voice from last week, the phone call I wasn't meant to overhear while lingering in her kitchen. "Eden's so lonely in that big house," she told Aunt Sarah. "She needs her sister's company. It's perfect timing, really, perfect timing." As if my life exists only to solve Marissa's latest crisis. I place my water glass down deliberately, reaching for my purse on the floor beside me. The shaking in my hands isn't nerves, it's pure anger. "Why so serious?" Marissa laughs, her gaze flicking briefly to our parents. "This is great news for both of us. You get a housemate. And I save on rent for a bit." My fingers close around the manila envelope I'd brought, the one I nearly left in the car, thinking tonight wasn't the moment, but there's never a right moment with my family. Only their schedules, their plans, their expectations. My trembling hands steady as I set the envelope on the table. "Actually," I say, my voice steadier than I feel, "I have news too." My parents' faces shift instantly. My mother's smile wavers, her eyes narrowing slightly. My father lowers his champagne flute, his brow furrowing with concern. The shift is subtle but clear. Their united front forming against the daughter who dares deviate from the script. "What kind of news?" My mother's tone carries a warning, "Don't ruin this. Don't be difficult." I feel the weight of familiar labels hovering in the air. Selfish, difficult, uncaring. The cost of defiance is obvious. Disagree, and I'm the family villain. Again, looking at their expectant faces, I see this pattern has shaped my entire life. Marissa takes, I give. My parents enforce the exchange. The roles never shift, the lines never budge. Until now. I place the manila envelope in the table's center, my fingers lingering on its edge. The room grows quiet, my family's anticipation heavy in the air. "What's that?" My mother's voice holds a trace of irritation, as if my interruption is disrupting a plan already set in stone. "This," I say, carefully pulling out the papers inside, "is the sale agreement for my house. I sold it last week. I have 30 days before I move." The silence that follows is deafening. Marissa's champagne flute slips from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. No one moves to clean it. My father's mouth opens and closes, like a fish gasping on dry land. "You what?" Marissa whispers at last. I flip through my phone, pulling up the Pinterest board I found this morning. "Interesting timing, isn't it?" I say. "While you were planning to move in, Mom and Aunt Sarah were already designing your future bedroom in my house." I turn the screen toward them, showing the meticulously curated board labeled Marissa's new room. My throat tightens as I watch recognition dawn on their faces. 9 years of scrimping every penny, working overtime, skipping vacations and new clothes, all to afford that house, my dream home. To them, it was just another resource to redirect to Marissa. My father stands abruptly, looming over me. "You can cancel the sale," he says, waving a hand dismissively. These things have cooling off periods. My mother rises too, placing a hand on his arm. Eden, we promised Marissa she could stay as long as she needs. You can't expect her to find a place in 30 days. Actually, Aunt Sarah chimes in from the end of the table. We were going to move most of her things next Tuesday while you were at work, to make it easier for everyone. The coordinated betrayal steals my breath. I glance at Dorothy, my mother's oldest friend, sitting uncomfortably beside Aunt Sarah. She stares at her plate, avoiding everyone's gaze. You can't do this? My father says, his tone hardening. What about your property taxes? You know I always help with those. The threat isn't subtle. His one yearly contribution to my finances, now dangled as leverage. Eden, my mother says softly, adopting the concerned tone she reserves for discussing unstable people. I'm worried about you. This impulsive decision isn't like you. Are you feeling okay? Are you taking care of yourself? I recognize the tactic instantly. If I'm not compliant, I must be unwell. It's a familiar path in our family dynamic, one that's kept me in line for years. You did this on purpose, Marissa accuses, tears streaming down her face. You found out I needed a place and sold your house to spite me. The accusation hits like a physical blow. This is how it always goes. My boundaries recast as cruelty, my self-preservation painted as selfishness. For a moment, I consider explaining the truth. The catastrophic roof replacement that drained my savings, the waterline break, the heating system failure, the mounting financial pressure that made selling not just wise but necessary. But what's the point? They've already cast me as the villain in this family drama. Why give them more ammunition? I made this decision for my own reasons. I say instead, keeping my voice even. And it's final. So you're just leaving your sister homeless? My mother's voice rises. After everything we've done for you. The familiar weight of guilt settles on my shoulders. Everything they've done for me. The invisible ledger of family obligation, always tallying in one direction. Marissa isn't homeless? I point out. She has an apartment. And if that doesn't work, she has your spare bedroom. That's not the point. My father cuts in. Family helps family. Period. The unspoken remainder hangs in the air, and you're not being family. I say carefully, gathering the sale papers back into the envelope. We have different definitions of help. Under the table, I feel a gentle squeeze on my hand. Dorothy, still avoiding everyone else's eyes, whispers so softly I nearly miss it. Good for you. It's a small validation, but in this moment, it feels immense. One person in this room doesn't see me as selfish or cruel for protecting myself. As I sit there, my family's accusations lingering in the air, I wonder whether I should reveal the financial struggles that forced me to sell my beloved home or simply stand firm without justifying my choice. Would sharing my vulnerability make them understand or just hand them new weapons to wield against me? The first call comes Tuesday morning as I'm preparing my coffee. Aunt Sarah's name flashes on my phone, unusual for a weekday before 9. Eden, honey, I just spoke with your mother, she says, her voice carrying that tone reserved for funerals or family scandals. Is it true you sold your house just to keep Marissa from staying with you? My coffee spills over the mug's rim, scalding my fingers. What? Marissa called me in tears last night, saying you sold your beautiful home out of spite, knowing she needed a place to stay. The burn on my hand fades as a different heat rises in my chest. That's not what happened. Your sister will be homeless, Eden. I never thought you could be so cruel. The calls keep coming all day. Uncle Robert, cousin Jennifer, even my father's golf buddy Chuck, whose connection to this I can't fathom. Each conversation follows the same script. Marissa's desperate situation, my apparent heartlessness, their profound disappointment in me. While chopping carrots for dinner, I make the mistake of checking Facebook. Marissa's latest post sits at the top of my feed. The hardest lesson is learning who truly has your back when times get tough. Family should be forever, not just when it's convenient. 27 sympathetic comments follow, including one from Mom, "We're here for you, sweetheart. Always." The knife in my hand slices with increasing force. The final blow lands Thursday when my colleague Lisa stops by my desk, her face pinched with concern. "I ran into your sister at Starbucks this morning," she says, lowering her voice. "She told me about the house situation. If you need help finding her temporary housing, My church has a program. The carrot pieces on my cutting board splinter under the blade. What exactly did Marissa tell you? Lisa shifts uncomfortably. Just that she's facing homelessness because of some sudden decision you made. She seemed really upset. My jaw clenches so tightly it aches. Thanks for your concern, Lisa. But Marissa isn't homeless. She has an apartment and parents with a 4-bedroom house. After Lisa leaves, I lock myself in a bathroom stall, hands shaking as I text my sister, "Stop telling people I'm making you homeless. It's a lie, and you know it." Her reply comes instantly, "You're selling the house I was counting on." What would you call it? The roof replacement came first, 11,000 I hadn't budgeted for when March storms revealed leaks in 3 rooms. I drained my vacation fund and took a small loan, telling myself it was a one-time crisis. Then the water line broke in April, $8,200 for emergency repairs and landscape restoration. I canceled my trip to visit my college roommate in Arizona, picked up weekend marketing work for a local realtor, and ate ramen more nights than I cared to admit. The heating system failure in June was the final straw, 5,000 I simply didn't have. Each night after work I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by spreadsheets and bank statements, recalculating figures that refused to balance. The crying started then, silent tears after midnight, when I was sure no neighbors walking their dogs could glimpse the truth. The woman they waved to each morning, always composed and capable, was unraveling behind closed doors. My reflection in the bathroom mirror revealed the toll. Dark circles under my eyes that concealer couldn't hide, collarbones sharper against my blouses. When my pants began slipping at the waist, I punched new holes in my belt rather than buy smaller sizes. Temporary situation, temporary fix. While keeping up this facade, I packed my home each evening, 9 years of memories sorted into keep, donut, or trash. Books that once lined entire walls now filled boxes stacked in corners. Wedding photos of friends, graduation pictures of cousins, vacation snapshots, all bubble, wrapped and packed into containers labeled in blue marker. Through it all, I documented everything: bank statements in chronological order, repair invoices filed by date and category, text messages screenshot and saved, a fortress of proof against my family's fiction. While packing my office bookshelf, I find a framed photo I'd nearly forgotten, me, standing on my front porch the day I signed the mortgage papers, keys clutched in my hand, my smile wide enough to split my face. The realtor had snapped it as a surprise, capturing the moment I realized I'd done it. Bought a home entirely on my own. I traced the frame's edge, recalling that feeling: pride without apology, accomplishment without needing anyone's approval. I place it carefully atop the nearest keep box, a tangible reminder of what I built and what no one can diminish. The doorbell rings Saturday afternoon while I'm wrapping dishes in newspaper. Through the front window, I see my parents' book in the driveway, Marissa's red compact parked behind it. No warning text, no courtesy call. I consider ignoring it, but the knocking grows insistent. When I open the door, they file in like funeral directors, solemn, judgmental, ready to manage a difficult situation. Mom spots the boxes immediately. "You're really going through with this madness." I fold newspaper around another plate, securing it with tape. "The closing is in 3 weeks. Your sister needs you," Mom says, her voice rising slightly. "You've always been selfish, but this is beyond comprehension." The plate in my hand stays steady, though something shifts inside me. My entire life, I've been told what Marissa needs. The words come out calmer than I feel. "Did anyone ever ask what I need?" Dad clears his throat. "Eden, be reasonable. I need financial stability. I need to sleep without panic attacks over bills. I need to stop draining my retirement fund for house repairs I can't afford." I continue wrapping dishes methodically. Unlike past confrontations, I don't pause to give them my full attention. I don't offer drinks or comfortable seats. I keep working while they stand awkwardly in my half-packed kitchen. "We're your family," Mom says, her voice wavering between anger and disbelief. "Yes, you are. And I've never once asked you for money, not for college, not for my first apartment, not for this house, and not for the repairs that emptied my savings." For once, they have no immediate reply. Marissa stares at the floor, avoiding my eyes. Dad studies the ceiling as if it's suddenly fascinating. I realize with startling clarity that I no longer crave their approval or understanding. The constant ache for validation I've carried since childhood has quieted, replaced by something stronger. When I stand to grab another stack of plates, I notice my posture has changed. Shoulders back, spine straight, eyes level with theirs instead of downcast. The physical sign of an internal shift. Dorothy arrives that evening with Thai food and 2 bottles of wine. She helps me pack photo albums while sharing stories of her own sister, who didn't speak to her for 3 years after Dorothy refused to co-sign a loan. Family patterns are the hardest to break, she says, carefully wrapping a crystal vase my grandmother left me. But sometimes, breaking them is the only way forward. Monday brings an unexpected text from my colleague Thomas. Need help moving. Got a truck and a strong back. Family often sees us least clearly. Just say when. That afternoon, Barbara, my financial advisor, emails confirmation of my townhouse application approval. Based on your financials, this move reduces your housing costs by 42%. The right decision for your long-term security. Call if you need anything else. The contrast hits me as I read these messages over dinner. These people ask what I need instead of demanding what I give. They offer specific help, not vague expectations. That night I spread my financial documents across the dining room table. Bank statements, repair invoices, property tax assessments, retirement account withdrawals, all meticulously organized, the full picture of my financial reality. Tomorrow's family meeting won't be an intervention for me, but a reckoning with facts they've chosen to ignore. My one advantage remains unspoken. The sales agreement includes a 30-day rent-back clause letting me stay in the house for a month after closing while I finalize my townhouse purchase. Breathing room they don't know I have. At exactly 7 p.m. Tuesday evening, the doorbell rings. When I open it, I find not just my parents and Marissa but Aunt Sarah, Uncle Robert, and Cousin Jennifer on the porch. A family firing squad ready for execution. I stand at the head of my dining room table, a position that feels unfamiliar yet right. The manila folder in my hands holds every financial statement, every bill, every painful reminder of why I had to sell my home. My fingers no longer shake as I open it. Before anyone says a word, I need you all to see something. My voice carries a steadiness I barely recognize. The family gathering is larger than expected. My parents, Marissa, Uncle William, Aunt Sarah, and my support team Dorothy, Barbara, and Thomas. I arrange the documents methodically, laying them out in chronological order. Bank statements, emergency fund withdrawals, contractor invoices. Each paper tells part of the story I've kept hidden. This is the roof replacement from last spring. I slide that 11,200 invoice to the center where everyone can see. The 30-year shingles lasted only 22. Insurance covered nothing. Uncle William adjusts his glasses, leaning forward with a deep frown. Water line repair, 8,200. Another paper joins the first. When the city updated the main line, it showed my connection was failing. No warning, no payment plan. My mother shifts in her seat but stays uncharacteristically silent. Heating system replacement, 5,000. The third major bill completes my trio of ownership nightmares. The energy efficiency rebate covered barely a quarter of the cost. I hold their gazes as I speak, something I rarely managed in past family confrontations. Barbara nods subtly from her seat by the window, urging me to go on. My emergency fund is gone. I place my bank statement on top, the balance starkly clear. My financial advisor recommended selling while the market's still hot, rather than risking a forced sale later when I might be underwater. Marissa's chair scrapes against the hardwood as she stands abruptly. "This is creative accounting, Eden," she says, her voice sharp with accusation. "You've always been clever with numbers when it suits you. You're just dodging your family responsibilities." Uncle William, whose judgment I've feared since childhood, surprises me by turning to my sister. "Marissa, what's your current employment situation? Last I heard you were between jobs." The unexpected shift leaves Marissa stumbling. "I'm exploring opportunities. The job market's tough right now." My mother jumps in. "William, this isn't about employment. Family duty exists regardless of finances. Eden has that big, beautiful house with all that extra space." Speaking of space, Aunt Sarah interjects, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she examines my heating bill. "Why can't Marissa stay with you and Roger? You just redecorated that guest room." The conversation shifts like a tide, pulling away from me and swirling around the room as family members question the arrangement I've endured my entire adult life. Dorothy clears her throat. I've known this family for 20 years. Eden bought her house without any financial help from you all. Meanwhile, I've seen Marissa get help with rent, car payments, and credit card bills time and again. Her voice carries the weight of long observation. The pattern's been clear to everyone except those closest to it. Barbara straightens her blazer before speaking. As Eden's financial advisor, I can say that enabling financial dependency harms both parties. The giver depletes their resources, while the receiver never builds essential life skills. Thomas, quiet until now, leans forward. My brother lived with my parents until he was 42. They paid his bills, made his appointments, solved his problems. When they passed, he had no clue how to function. He lost their house within a year because he never learned to manage money. He glances at my parents. Sometimes, the most loving thing is to stop rescuing someone. The room falls unusually still as these outside perspectives pierce the family mythology we've lived under for decades. Uncle William breaks the silence. Eden, why didn't you share these financial struggles sooner? The question catches me off guard. Should I maintain the privacy and independence that have been my armor for years, or would opening up to select family members build the support system I never thought possible? Before I can respond, my father shifts in his chair, eyes fixed on the hardwood floor, the first time I can remember him sitting through a family discussion without dominating it. My mother's rigid posture softens, her hands now resting open on the table instead of clenched in her lap. Marissa stands suddenly, grabbing her purse. This is ridiculous. You're all acting like I'm some kind of parasite. Eden's always been the golden child with her perfect house and perfect job, while everyone ignores how hard things have been for me. When no one rushes to her defense, she storms toward the door. The slam echoes through the house as she leaves. Uncle William waits for the sound to fade before speaking again. I think it's time we had a family financial planning session. For everyone. He looks pointedly at my parents, including Marissa. My mother's eyes glisten with unshed tears, but for once they're not weaponized against me. My father reaches for her hand across the table, his face unreadable, but his silence speaking volumes. For the first time in a family confrontation, I'm not the one left feeling like I've done something wrong. I arrange the last of my kitchen glasses into a box, wrapping each one in newspaper with careful precision. My final week in the 30-day countdown, and the house already feels empty, memories peeling away with each packed item. The doorbell rings. I check my watch, right on time. My parents are nothing if not punctual when they have a mission. I open the door to find not just them but Marissa too, standing on my porch like a united front. My mother clutches her purse with white knuckles. My father's smile seems rehearsed. Eden, honey, my mother says, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. We've been talking, and we think we've found the perfect solution. A compromise. My father adds, his voice carrying that forced cheer he uses for tough conversations. Marissa follows them in, her eyes scanning my half-packed living room before settling on me with a practiced look of gratitude. I really appreciate you hearing us out. They arrange themselves on my couch, the only furniture not yet wrapped in moving blankets, while I remain standing. The power dynamic isn't lost on me. We know selling the house is your choice. My mother begins, punctuating her words with a nervous laugh. But instead of Marissa moving in with you, what if you helped her get her own place? My father nods enthusiastically, carefully avoiding any mention of actual figures. Just a loan to get her started. With your success, it barely affects you. Unlike me, Marissa interjects, her voice soft and rehearsed. Some people just have bad luck, you know. The implication hangs heavy, you're successful. She's struggling. You owe her. My mother leans forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Eden, our family has always stuck together. If you can't help your sister just this once. She trails off, the threat clear-cut Marissa off, and I cut myself off from the family. I walk to the dining room table, where I've laid out several documents. They watch me, their certainty giving way to confusion. I'm meeting with my lender tomorrow, I say, picking up a pre-approval letter. For a townhouse downtown, the monthly payment will be nearly 40% less than my current mortgage. I hand the letter to my father, whose eyes widen at the numbers. Selling this house isn't just about Marissa. It's about rebuilding my emergency savings after 3 major repairs drained them. It's about reducing my financial stress. I take a deep breath. It's about prioritizing my financial health. My mother starts to speak, but I hold up my hand. I can't support Marissa financially. I continue, but I can help her support herself. I pull a business card from my pocket and offer it to Marissa. She stares at it without taking it. Our marketing department has an entry-level position opening next week. The starting salary would cover rent on a 1-bedroom apartment. I spoke to HR yesterday, and they're willing to interview you. Marissa's mouth opens, then closes. For once, she's genuinely speechless. This isn't charity, I add. It's an opportunity. Whether you take it is up to you. My father stands abruptly, moving to the window where bear hooks show where family photos once hung. Eden, be reasonable. Marissa needs. No, I interrupt. Walking to the coffee table where I've placed a manila folder. This is what reasonable looks like. I open the folder and pull out a spreadsheet, placing it between us. The itemized list details every financial gift my parents have given Marissa over the past 5 years. Car payments, rent supplements, credit card bailouts. The total at the bottom, circled in red, makes my mother gasp. I compiled this from conversations you've had in front of me. I suspect the real total is higher. My father picks up the paper, his forehead creasing as he studies the figures. This isn't love, I say quietly. It's dependence, and it's hurting both of you. My father opens his mouth to protest, then falls silent, his eyes locked on the spreadsheet. Would just wanted to help her. My mother whispers, tears welling in her eyes. The best help is teaching someone to stand on their own. I reply, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. You taught me that once, remember, when I wanted to quit college because it was too hard. The memory lingers, my father refusing to let me move home when calculus overwhelmed me, insisting I find a tutor instead. We're doing you no favors by making life too easy, he'd said then. Strange how principles shift when applied to different daughters. The silence stretches, broken only by the sound of packing tape from the box I'd abandoned when they arrived. Finally, my father puts his arm around my mother's shoulders. "What should go?" he says quietly. They walk to the door, my mother barely meeting my eyes. Marissa hesitates, glancing back at the business card still in my hand. "I don't need your charity job," she says, but her voice lacks its usual conviction. I place the card on the entryway table. It's not charity. It's opportunity. She turns away, but as she follows my parents out, I catch her slip the card into her purse. When she thinks I'm not looking, the door closes behind them. I stand in my half-empty living room, listening to their car start and pull away. The silence feels different now, not hollow, but open, expansive. I sink onto the couch, running my hand over its familiar fabric. Tomorrow it goes into storage until I move into the townhouse. 9 years of memories in this house, and now an uncertain future awaits. I feel both liberated and isolated, triumphant yet alone. The family dinner next month looms in my mind. Will they even want me there? Has this confrontation permanently changed our relationships? The answering machine blinks with 3 new messages, likely more relatives weighing in. I ignore it, focusing instead on the business card Marissa took. One small step, perhaps the first of many. I stand in the center of my downtown loft, savoring the space around me. Sunlight pours through the windows, warming the hardwood floors beneath my bare feet. 3 months ago, this place felt like a compromise, not a choice. Now it feels like the home I didn't know I needed. Another box checked off the budget, I tell myself, updating my financial tracking app. My mortgage payment glows in green, 30% less than what I paid for the Craftsman. Barbara's weekly check-ins have turned my greatest source of anxiety into a structured ritual I actually enjoy. The kitchen island holds my newest purchase, a professional-grade camera that would have been a distant dream in my old financial reality. My first photography class starts tomorrow evening, the course catalog still open on my tablet. I run my fingers over the camera's textured grip. Permission to create, not just survive. My phone buzzes with a reminder, Sunday dinner at my parents'. I feel the familiar tightening in my shoulders, then consciously let it go. These dinners have changed just as I have. Later, I step through my parents' front door, carrying a bottle of wine instead of my usual tension headache. Dad greets me with a hug that feels genuine, not perfunctory. "Eden, come see what your sister brought," he says, his voice free of the comparative undertones that once colored our interactions. In the dining room, Marissa arranges flowers in a simple vase. She looks up, her smile reaching her eyes. "They gave me my first business cards today," she says, pulling one from her pocket. "Assistant marketing coordinator. Sounds fancy for someone mostly making coffee runs, but I'm learning so much." She hands me the card proudly, without the defensive edge that once marked her accomplishments. My mother appears in the doorway, carrying a casserole not strategically placed closer to Marissa's setting. "Tell us more about that social media campaign you mentioned last week," Mom says, looking at Marissa. Then she turns to me, "And Eden, how was your photography class?" I blink, still adjusting to the novelty of equal attention. As we eat, I notice my father asking thoughtful questions of both daughters, not just fawning over Marissa's every word. 1 week later, laughter fills my loft as Dorothy raises her glass. "To homes that shelter us and boundaries that protect us," she toasts. Around my coffee table sit Thomas, Barbara, Uncle William, and me, my chosen family alongside the blood relative who surprised me most. Dorothy presents me with a frame containing 2 photos, me signing my original mortgage papers 9 years ago and me holding the keys to this townhouse. "2 brave beginnings," she says softly. "2 very different women," I add, recognizing how much I've changed. The following weekend finds Marissa and me at my kitchen table, surrounded by spreadsheets and calculator apps. "So if I save 15% of each paycheck, I could have first and last month's rent by January," she says, chewing her lip as she rechecks the numbers. Our parents sit on my sofa, watching this scene with a mix of pride and regret. "We should have done this years ago," Mom admits quietly. "We thought we were helping, but we were hurting both of you in different ways." Dad nods, his eyes revealing the difficult journey of unlearning decades of enabling behavior. As I watch Marissa calculate her budget with a determination I've never seen before, I wonder about the fine line between helping and enabling those we love. Can we ever find the perfect balance between supporting family and maintaining healthy boundaries? Or must we sometimes let others struggle so they can truly grow?